Solid.
All right. Hello, folks. This took about a half an hour to get seated here.
Yeah, my bad. Whoops. But we got here.
Yeah.
Yeah, confrontation.
Confrontation, which is real something. Confrontation is something such support as well. I think that everyone needs in life because we both need confrontation and support. But when someone is struggling with mental health illness or a lot of different stuff, it can be kind of a journey to figure out what someone needs when it comes to support and confrontation.
Yes. Confrontation is a very delicate subject, especially when doing it actually in... No, hang on. Actually, doing confrontation is a very delicate thing because everyone has different types of confrontation where they, that help them, and different styles that don't help.
Yeah, or actually make the situation worse.
Exactly.
Or if you do it the wrong way, if you give the wrong support or the wrong confrontation, it can also like traumatize someone if you do it the wrong way.
Yeah. Parents are a brilliant example
of
for
that. We have plenty of examples. So, because we also when we're raised, we need right support and we need confrontation. When we grow up, to know how to behave in the future and what we want to be like and
exactly.
stuff. And if parents don't do that in the right way, that can really trouble some person and make it really harder to learn things in the future or to actually handle confrontation in the future. Because confrontation, if it's something your parents made terrifying or something, then in the future it might be really hard to accept confrontation, even though it is important to.
No, I agree.
Deal with them.
Do you have an example of parents?
So there are a lot of different kind of stuff you can come up with when it comes to conversation. I can give a few examples of that. It's just maybe a little bit random. For example, I was struggling with stuff like parents can always see the difference between depression and just being lazy.
For real.
And I had a situation where I had a hockey game, and good.
Yeah, sorry. Yep.
I had a hockey game, and I was laying in bed, and I was not doing well. I was pretty much struggling. I was going through like an episode where I was just not feeling great. And I was just like, I want to lay in bed all day. I don't think I can go to this game because I was feeling awful. And my dad was like, you need to get out of bed right now. And I think, I guess he was stressed and he didn't want me to not show up because, he was the parent and he would look bad and stuff like that, which I understand. But
that's still fucked up.
Yeah.
But go on.
And I was really struggling, and I don't know if he really saw that, but I just was. And he just screamed at me to get out of bed and to go to the game because he didn't want to be embarrassed of me. And I didn't want to go. And then he pulled me out of bed, and then he pulled me down the stairs. And then he pushed me against the wall, and he would threaten me to go with, abuse. Abuse hitting me, I guess. I think in his way that would mean like, okay, this is seriously just do this. But I think that can traumatize a child by doing something like that. And that was me going to the depressive episode and they thinking, oh, it's just you being lazy. You just need to be handled well. Another example is my parents. I had really bad social anxiety growing up. And I was really struggling with calling. So anxiety for calling people and places. Also anxiety for asking people for things. I like just random people on the street, like asking for help and stuff. So I was once in the supermarket in Germany, and I was terrified. I didn't want to speak English or another language with a person there in the supermarket. My mom told me she knew I had anxiety. She thought this might help me to get out of my comfort zone, to just try and get me to do it. But she would say like, okay, if you don't ask this person where their umbrellas were, random thing, you don't get to go eat with us tonight. And I was like, what? And my dad did that once as well with me having to call a place to get a reservation. I didn't want to do that. I didn't end up doing it. But they would just like threaten me to do this or otherwise they would take something away from me. And they thought that kind of confrontation would help me or whatever, or just make me do things, but it would only make my fears and anxiety worse because I didn't need confrontation in that situation. I needed support because support would have helped me a lot more to know that I was safe, and to know that if I wasn't able to do that, that they would help me and stuff, and I could rely on them. You know, if they had a situation with, okay, you could just try, you can say this, and they give examples of it, it might be a lot easier to just tell me to do something, and if I don't do it, then I'll get punished or something. I think that's a situation in my youth with a lot of confrontation stuff. Certainly around mental illness, when you treat someone like that, and you don't give them support, but you confront them about their actions. There are a little different ways that you can handle a situation like that, and
Definitely.
You should be aware of that, I suppose. So, yeah.
How do you think your parents' confrontation style shaped your own?
I think in a way, I might have taken over some of theirs, but I don't threaten people. Don't worry, I don't threaten people. That would be awful. But I do get frustrated with people, and I try to work on that. But my parents would get really frustrated with me when I didn't do things that they wanted me to do, and I can get frustrated with people as well when things don't go according as planned, or when when you don't know, you try to do something with someone and that things just don't work out in a certain way, or you care about someone and you want to help them but it doesn't work. Sometimes I can get frustrated, which is not always the right way, and I need to work on that in a bit. I need to work on that reaction. It's not always like that, but in some situations it does come up. So I think that's one, frustration, reacting on that. I think there are probably other things as well, but I've tried to really. I do get compliments about people about about being supportive and stuff. So, and I know my parents are really bad things, and they will just assume stuff, and they'll just confront you and assume or support you, but assume that you're going through a certain something, when you should probably ask someone what they need in a way of support or confrontation, what helps them, and just like try to figure out different things.
Yeah, fair.
So, and what do you? How was it for you when you grew up? Confrontation and support.
My parents had different styles of confrontation. My mother either used to give me the silent treatment, or she'd.
It's not really confrontation though, but let's say. Is it?
What I mean is that she confronted me with my actions the way I made her feel, by giving me the silent treatment. Sometimes she'd, shout at me and call me names, give me the finger, stuff like that.
It's just not even confrontation. It's just treating something badly, or just not even giving confrontation. Just not even talking about it, because if you give someone silent treatment, it's just like...
No, exactly. Her style was like running away and like, thinking, nah.
Which also teaches someone that is a way of doing things. Which is also...
I'll get into that a little bit later.
Go on.
No worries. My dad used to shout. Why do men always shout?
They do. My does too. Yeah.
It's bizarre how many...
Yeah. It doesn't work though. It does not.
No.
Work.
They're just a product of their time.
Yeah.
But still, it's he used to shout, and sometimes when he like really mad, he'd either that was when we were younger, he'd grab us by the chin like this, make sure we couldn't look another way, and then he'd either shout or say that's enough or whatever.
Yeah.
Or when he'd get really mad later on, he'd begin with certain phrases and he'd throw stuff. He would be cursing and like, I think if you were the neighbors, you could hear him shout. But he'd always do it. He's got one other confrontation style, and that one's triggered me so much. But he'd always confront you in situations where you couldn't get away. Like a long car ride, for example, where he threaten to kick me out of the house when if he'd catch me with self-harm cuts again. And another is where he just asks question after question after question. And it's those questions where you can only say, eventually the only thing left to say is, I'm sorry. And then he'd say, yeah, well, you say that every time, but like, you don't change. So, huh? And then it's like, well, what do you want me to say? What do you want to hear from me? And he'd back you in a corner so completely that you couldn't do anything else. There wasn't anything you could do because he just turned those words against you.
Yeah.
It's
like a power game.
Yeah, yes, exactly. It was that. And I'd say I never do that because it sucks. You know, you're just a terrible person if you do that shit. At least in my opinion. A confrontation should be fair and should also give the other person. Oh my god! Oh, that's a hoverfly. Don't worry.
Oh my god! I thought it was a wasp.
You scared me, little buddy.
Scary.
But,
Nature.
yeah. No. What I was trying to say before our friend the hoverfly interrupted us. Yeah, confrontation should give both parties a chance to speak for themselves. The way my mother used to confront me. Hello. Oh, it's sucking on my skin. That's a weird sensation. Anyway, sorry. This is funny. I really hope it doesn't bite. I don't think so.
Is that really a hoverfly? Okay, it doesn't look like a wasp, but still.
Oh my god, that's so cool. I can see its tongue. This is...
See its tongue?
Yeah. What? That's crazy. Okay, tickles. Sorry, buddy. Go on. I'm busy with the podcast here.
Okay.
Okay, hello. Yes. Move. Thank you. Don't worry. It doesn't do anything. Move.
It likes you.
Yeah. I've got a secret admirer. You tickle.
I'm sorry, dude, he's taken.
Yeah,
real. Girlfriend.
Real. I have a girlfriend. Anyways, okay, so that's out of the way. I've adopted my mother's confrontation style.
Yeah.
Which is none. I tend to walk away, and I tend to let people walk over me, in order to keep the peace. And I've noticed that when it's back. And I've noticed that when I do get really mad, instead of... Yeah, that's still the hoverfly. Sorry.
Some focus on it if you can.
Yeah, again, I apologize for that. It tickles. The confrontation style I've adopted is basically my mother's. I tend to shut people out. I tend to walk away, and I don't necessarily give the silent treatment, but I don't... If I do confront people, it's in a way that's way too soft. Well, way too soft. That's subjective.
It's really careful, I guess.
Careful and, cooperative. Like, I want to work together towards the solution. And I don't want to just bombard them with my frustrations and that's it. Yeah, that was pretty much it.
Yeah, no, fair. No. So,
that was a very long answer.
Yeah, no, partially, I guess, in a way we take up what our parents...
Yeah.
How our parents confront us.
True.
And support us. But we also get to find out our own confrontations, and later on when you get older you realize how your parents did it and you're like, this is not the way I want to treat people.
No, exactly.
So people never learn that, and you have to think that for yourself, like, okay, I don't want to be like this anymore. How do I change my confrontation? How do I ask people what they prefer and stuff? Because it's something everyone needs a different kind of confrontation. Some people need tough confrontation. Some people just need a soft way. Some people need a cooperative way.
Yes.
It's like a lot of different things. So what do you need in confrontation? What did you wish you had when you grew up? Confrontation.
I know someone who's gonna get mad at this phrase, but I'm a hypersensitive bitch boy, so I need a soft hand. I need someone who's gentle. You know, I learn from my mistakes and I learn quickly, but I can't do that when I shut down. So when someone keeps pushing me with the same subject over and over again, I tend to shut down. And it's where I think, okay, well, I've heard you the first time. I will think about this. And people think, but he's not listening. So I gotta, repeat my statement, repeat what I had to say, because otherwise it doesn't come through to him. But it's the other way around. And yeah, especially back in the day, when I was younger, it would have been nice to have a just gentle hand steering me in the right direction. And whenever I did something wrong, I do want to be confronted, but I need to be reminded that it's my behavior that'll have some consequences, instead of that I'm a bad person.
Yeah.
Because that's the message I've been given. That the moment I make a mistake, I'm a terrible person. I don't deserve to live. That's a message no one's ever said that directly, but it's how I interpreted it.
Yeah.
And it's something I've adopted. Mm-hmm. You merely adopted the dark. Anyways, yeah. So basically that.
Yeah. No, that's
you
fair.
You said you needed support and love, right? In confrontation.
Well, I wanted to go ask you a question. You immediately see this what you do. You immediately go onto me, but
yeah, that's fair. I do. Okay. Shoot.
What do you feel like when someone confronts you about something, in a soft way, but you don't agree with it?
Yeah.
What kind of conversation would you need then?
As in,
well, for example, one thing that I do notice with you is that when I confront you, I don't always confront you in the right way. I know that, but you sometimes do go silent a bit, and you don't always get back to me on the subject, and then I don't feel like you've necessarily heard, and I don't know if anything's going to change or how you feel about it, because I feel like you shut down a bit.
I do tend to shut down. This is a common
it's a common thing. It's also because of how you were raised. When someone confronts you and your system is like, okay, we're going again, so you just shut down and you don't, you
go.
Try to protect yourself from that.
Yeah, that's a good question. Confrontation is a very difficult thing for me. We sort of talked about that one. I do hear it, and I do listen. Sometimes the things you confront me on are patterns and habits that are so deeply engraved in my system that it takes time. And I know what you mean for certain ones. And I get that can be very frustrating because you feel like you're not getting anywhere. But I do hear it, or I do listen. I do tend to shut down, yes, true. And sometimes I don't get back on you on it because I forget.
You know, that's why I get back to you. You know, that's why I sometimes, because that's what you said. I sometimes will repeat a subject because you don't get back to me on it, and then I'm like, maybe you've heard
I
it.
see.
But
Sorry, I misunderstanding. What I mean is that sometimes you repeat something 5 times in a row in one conversation, and that's what triggers me.
oh, okay.
And that's when I shut down and think, okay, I've heard you the first time. Yes, I listen, but it's what my dad used to do, and that's why I shut down. That's why I get triggered. That's why. This one. Yeah.
No, I get that because if I repeat the same cycle that you've experienced before, it's really fair that you shut down. That's not, because I do want to prevent that in future with like other phases of confrontation, but I want to make sure in a way that because I want to be able to talk to you about stuff, you know, and I want to be able to talk to you about stuff and to just talk instead of because you do shut down, and that's why I repeat stuff, and I shouldn't. Maybe that doesn't really help because I get that my dad used to do that as well, because sometimes repetition does do a trick, you know. It just makes us want to shut down more in a way. So True. I get that. So I guess I do want to work in a way to figure out a way how we can cooperate or just have a conversation about something instead of just me pushing talking a bit.
Yeah. No, fair. That's fair.
Yeah. So for me, in a way, also, I sometimes need harsh conversation, I guess, but not the way my dad used to do it. I just need someone to actually just have a mirror in front of my face and be like, this is what's happening right now. Do you realize this? This is what it's doing. If someone just is, because I can sometimes get so my frustration when someone also confronts me. I need someone who can just like handle that, which I know is a lot because I can get in my emotions and I can react in a way when I get confronted. I used to do it with my dad as well. My dad would confront me and we'd get in fights, and he'd scream at me, but I'd scream at him as well. And I would scream and he would hit, like, I don't know, I guess we'd hit each other in a way. It's just really weird. No, it was really weird. I don't know. But I would get really heated as well as he did. So when someone confronts me, I sometimes tend to react in a way as well he did. But I need someone who can just
look past that
and go on, you know, be like, okay, I get it, you're frustrated and stuff, but this is happening. And I want to talk to you about this and see how we can figure this out. But I also tend to see when someone confronts me to see their intentions in a way, because sometimes people's intentions with confrontation are like, this feels so invalid right now, or you're not hearing me, because my parents would confront me, but they wouldn't care about my side. So when people sometimes confront me, I feel like they're not really trying to understand what I'm going through. They just want to get something over to me.
Right. They just want to vent their frustrations.
Yeah. Anyway.
Fair.
So I think that's in a way where I sometimes react. People. Yeah. I guess heated. Also, when I confront people. No, that's not true. Wait. When someone confronts me, I can get heated in a way, because it makes me feel like that, like I'm not gonna get seen. Because my parents would never really care about my side. They would just want to get it over with. And sometimes when I confront people, I guess I also try to, I don't know, I don't know, I want to help, but I get frustrated in a way. And I just want to like, I don't know, I still have to learn to do that in a way. I guess we're all still learning how to confront people, because everyone does need different ways of confrontation.
True that.
Amen. No matter how you're raised or what your characteristics are, what you appreciate, what helps you, whatever mental illness you have, maybe the mental illness and anxiety and like depression and stuff, you need different confrontation styles.
True.
And I still need to learn how to confront someone. With some people, my confrontation can work. Some people it doesn't. So I need to find different confrontations for different people. Ways of supporting is that I think most people do appreciate when you have patience in a way, and you can just like talk, and screaming is not going to help when you confront someone.
No.
Yeah, and we still need to work on how to confront each other because we both have different confrontation styles that we use.
Yeah.
And the ones that we appreciate, how someone confronts us, and they both do not
match.
They're not match at all. So we confront each other. That doesn't work really well.
No.
For neither of us. So that makes things a little bit complicated.
Yes.
So we still need to work on that. So I think that's different in every friendship, really.
True.
Yeah.
I think communication plays a big part in that. Well, obviously.
Are there things in my confrontation style that you do
appreciate? I find it very helpful and easier to say something back when you directly ask me, so what's your side of the story? What is your opinion on this? I still tend to shut down. Don't get me wrong. I'm faced not towards the camera. Hang on, just a sec. I will be moving. There we go. That's so close to the edge. Okay. Yes, I appreciate it when you ask my side of the story, because it gives me a chance, and it's confirmation, I guess, that you want a conversation instead of just.
And I want to hear your side, maybe, because.
Instead of just wanting to vent your frustrations, because we've both experienced that a lot.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you the same question. What part of my confrontation helps you, or do you think is?
The thing is, you can be, you say calm, I mean, when I sometimes get heated, that doesn't work for you. So I get that sometimes makes you shut down as well when you confront me. You decide to calm me and try to bring it in a good way. You don't like you yell your frustrations or something at all.
Yeah.
You just bring it in a really calm way.
Fair.
Which sometimes works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I need a little bit more, or when it's just sometimes calm is good to begin with, and then I need a little bit more. In a way or something, I guess. So it really depends.
And how do I know the difference?
Well, most of the time when I'm well, it depends on the situation, I guess. Kind of type of conversation. Because it could be about my behavior. So then I would say, you can confront me in a calm way and be like, this is what happened. This is how it affected me, because I do want to listen to that, and that should be fine. But when you confront me about something, I don't know, something else that's about me personally, so something I'm going through maybe, then sometimes it's better to be calm, and then maybe if it's not coming through, you put on a little bit of harsher method, or more okay, this is what's happening right now, a little bit more fire.
Right.
Are you hearing me right now? I need you to hear me because I care, and shut.
Help me understand this. What's the difference between more fire and the way your dad used to treat you? How can
What do you think is the difference?
I mean, shouting is a way of putting on more fire, but I'm vehemently, I do not, very, very much against.
But that's not what I mean by fire.
Shouting.
Fire. So you have people that scream and hit, and I'm like, you need to fucking listen to me right now, because if you don't listen to me, this is gonna happen. But with fire, I mean,
I've been treated the same way, so I do not know the difference.
Fair. It's more, because I have few friends that can do this, and they're like, okay, I get that you're frustrated right now. You just really try to talk me through it, because you sometimes when you confront me, I don't want to hear it, and I get frustrated, and then you can walk away, right?
Yeah, because I think that's what you need.
That's not what I always need. I need someone to push through, but I guess just pushing through, I guess, to just try a few times.
All right. Fair enough. That's fair. How do I know when I'm not crossing a boundary? Because that's a very sensitive subject to me.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
I'm asking difficult questions, I know that.
It really depends on how crucial. If you think a situation is really crucial, then you probably should keep pushing, I guess, in a way. When it's something that's not really crucial or not really big or something, then you can just let it go and try again later, I guess.
Okay, fair.
Except if you're like definitely, if you're actually concerned or something, worried, then you can push through it. But if you know, I get heated maybe and frustrated, then you can just bring it up later, maybe. I guess that way.
So when I think it's not that important, I can try again later. If I do think it's important, I need to push through.
Yeah.
All right. Is
that clear? A bit?
Is that clear?
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, we're still learning.
Exactly.
So yeah, so confrontation is in a way, which is also an important thing because people don't always see that what confrontation, it can be like a really bad word for people, even though it can come out of a place of love and care and support. And that's what sometimes people get like confused about. Confrontation should be about just like care. You care for someone and you want to support someone, you want to be there for someone, you want to help someone, and that's why you support you confront someone. Because I want, when my behavior is not good or bad, or I'm hurting someone, or they think that my behavior in the future will get in the way of my life or growing, then I want someone to confront me about it, you know? But I don't want to do it because they just don't like it. I want to be like, well, if they don't like it, I get hurt by it. Of course, I want them to confront me. But also, if they think it's going to get in the way of my life,
right,
I want them to tell me, you know? Because in a friendship and a relationship, I think it's important to grow together. You know, I think it's important. You want people that you care about to grow. You know, so then confrontation and support in the right way is crucial, I think.
Yeah. No, I agree with that one. That's a good one. Basically, I have everything.
You got any more points you want to make, or no?
No, on that note.
No.
No. No, I can't think of anything. Okay. I asked you a couple of questions a little 5 minutes ago about how I should confront you and like what the difference is between several situations. Do you have any questions for me? Because I can also understand if that's the case.
Okay.
Also okay if you don't.
Are there different ways of confrontation that you need, or is it mostly just in all the time, in all situations, just a gentle hand? Or are there other confrontations you might need in some situations?
That's a good question. I'd say 99% of the time it's just gentle hand. And instead of... Is that true? No, not really. One thing I've noticed is that when you confront me, about my lifestyle, my habits, you know, the fact that I still need to call the doctor, is that I don't think I'm that important. Therefore, when you confront me a couple of times, I'm thinking, yeah, well, you can confront me, but it's not going to work because I don't think it's important. Therefore, it doesn't have any, real significance. And it's not that I don't listen.
I know it just doesn't seem important to you, and it makes you.
Yeah, I don't do anything with it because I think, well, it's
why would I?
Yeah, it's
No, I noticed that.
But
which is sometimes the reason that it frustrates me, because I'm like,
yeah, I know.
I care. You're important, dude.
I know.
Yeah.
I've noticed when people confront me and it's important to them, but like in a way of either for the friendship or okay, let me give an example. I had a terrible therapist for the last month or so, but one thing she did do was tell me, okay, you it's fucking blackmailing. Jeez, oh my god.
She did. Awful.
Was that uh, she told me if I don't do my homework, I could get sent away from the therapy, not away to prison, but like you know, um, and when there's an external factor in play, it's important to either the friendship or it's important to something else other than me. That usually helps. Uh, yeah, pretty much that. But again, on the other hand, I need patience.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. It's not much else
Yeah.
to it.
So and also, so if it's a conversation about something that's like not as important to you, but it's important to someone else, to people that care about you, is that something? Because I do think it's important to, like, when you care about something, to say that when you confront someone, to be like, okay, I care. Maybe you don't think this is important, but this is important, and maybe you don't see that, but I see it. Whatever. And maybe that doesn't always come through, because it comes down to you, I guess, and it's something that sometimes you need to, when it comes down to behavior, I guess, you need to change. People that confront you about it might want to help you, but
yes, I get that. It's well, still difficult to accept that people care about me. But I've noticed that some subjects are sensitive to me, and sometimes they're off limits.
Yeah.
And that's my bad. Like I should communicate that more directly. But when you touch one of those subjects, not in that way, I tend to shut down and think that's not your business. That's my responsibility. It's my life. If I have some health implications because of it, that's on me. And I do appreciate the effort that you show because you could also just think, just leave it, whatever, I don't care. But sometimes that works because the moment I, fall down and fall flat on my face, metaphorically speaking, or in this case,
literally.
literally, because my hips are fucked. I need to learn for myself.
Yeah, true. I just don't want you to learn by having to struggle with it for your whole life. For example, with your hips,
That's fair. I get that.
But you're right. Some people need confrontation in a way of they need to make mistakes.
I need to be
and learn.
confronted in a way of
Life.
yeah, basically trial and error,
Yep.
baby. Yeah.
No, that's fair. I get that as well. I guess we just need to keep communicating on this subject, because there are a lot of things you could still talk about with this, and trial and error is a good one, but also when some situations are more crucial, not crucial. Yeah, I'd say would tend to push you, for example, about your hips or food. But that's just how it is. But yeah, do you think it's important to communicate in the right way when talking about stuff like that? If it's touchy subject, some people, if you can confront someone about something that's touchy with a touchy to them, or just like sensitive, then you need to be aware of that as well. That might,
dance. But yeah,
and patience, I guess. You need patience with confrontation is important.
Patience is crucial. What advice would you give me when I'm confronting you and you get frustrated? How can I see through that and not think, okay, never mind, I'll get back to you later? How do I push it?
It depends on the situation, really. See, because there are a lot of different situations that you could come to with this. I guess it's also about a bit kind of an intuitive thing that if you feel like I need to be pushed through, then you act on it. And if you feel like this is not going to work at all, then it might not. But I guess it's really just pushing through. It's just like, okay, really showing the consequences to me. So like, this is what happens if you keep doing this. Showing me, exactly, keeping mirror from my face.
All right.
Or also just like speaking out of care, I guess, when people are like, okay, but this is not going to end well, whatever. So I need you to see or hear this.
And if I keep pushing and it's still not working, back off.
If you think that that's better, if you think it's going to work, some people need to push and push and push and push, and then it works. Sometimes pushing doesn't work, and sometimes that means you should get onto it later.
There's an example.
I do think we need to stop it soon. Really? I don't know when I'm talking. I think
it's 9 o'clock. Yeah. Damn. We have been talking for a long time, I think.
We have been.
All right,
we're gonna keep talking about this when we finish the
video. Yeah.
Video. But I think we think you get the point. The thing is, with this is just communicate and ask people what they need in support and confrontation. And patience is important. Sensitive subjects make it a lot complexer, so I think that's really important. Beware.
Agreed. Yeah. Take care of that, folks.
Take care.
Yeah, we'll talk to you to the next one.
Yeah, exactly.
Great.
Damn.